There's a problem with Season 2 of Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender. Iroh is a completely different character from the original show, and there's a very important scene that makes this difference incredibly obvious. But the funny thing is that this is a scene from the original show that the adaptation recreates almost beat for beat, Lu Ten's memorial. On paper, it should feel like the exact same scene, but the adaptation changes Iroh's character and what the scene itself means, and to understand how, let's start by revisiting the original Iroh. Almost 20 years ago, back in September 2006, one of the best episodes of Avatar aired on TV, The Tales of Ba Sing Se. And this episode was a bit different from every other episode of Avatar because it was an anthology episode, a single 25-minute episode split into 6 independent stories, following our main characters as they just go about a regular day in the grand city of Ba Sing Se. Toph and Katara visit a spa, Aang creates a zoo, Sokka enters a haiku lesson, Zuko goes on a date, and Momo gets put into a circus. Now, the final of these stories follows General Iroh, the Dragon of the West, who, during the Fire Nation's 100-year war against the world, was the first military general to ever breach the Great Wall of Ba Sing Se. But if you were to see him today, you would never be able to guess this. In Iroh's Slice of Life segment, we see him be the Iroh we know and love, helping the everyday citizens of the lower ring and giving them advice. He moves a shopkeeper's flower into the shade to help it rejuvenate. He sees a kid crying on the street, and so he sings him a song and cheers him up. When a group of kids break a window playing around, he instructs them that sometimes it's best to run away. And then, most famously, someone tries to mug him, and in response, Iroh gives him advice and simply listens to the mugger's life story, which leads him to deciding to turn his life around. If 2 words had to be used to describe General Iroh of the Fire Nation, those words would be kind and wise. No matter if you're a Fire Nation prince, a stranger traveling on the road, the spiritual head of the entire world, or a random mugger on the street, Iroh will always try his best to help you find your way, and he will do that in the kindest way he can. Now, as the sun sets, the tale of Iroh ends with him holding a birthday memorial for his son Lu Ten. And during this scene, we get an understated reveal that adds an extra dimension to Iroh's entire character.
Happy birthday, my son. If only I could have helped you.
In these words during Lu Ten's memorial, we realize that Iroh is a wise old man who wishes he had become wiser sooner, so that wisdom could have been used to give his son a happy life. What we're left with at the end of Iroh's segment of the episode is recontextualization, that every act of generosity and kindness and wisdom that we've seen from Iroh in this episode and the episodes that came before it exist with a layer of grief beneath them. Iroh is kind because he knows what it means to lose someone, to fail someone, and to keep living despite that. On the surface, Iroh spends his day as a ray of sunshine in the lives of everyone he meets. But when he's finally alone, under the tree on that hill, we see where that light comes from. A man who is kind to everyone because he wishes he could have been kinder sooner. Now notice there's one thing that I didn't mention at all, because that thing has basically nothing to do with Lu Ten's memorial and what it says about Iroh's character. And that is, Iroh's thoughts and feelings on what he did to the people of the Earth Kingdom during his siege of Ba Sing Se. Yes, in the original show, Iroh obviously feels regret for the suffering he put the people of the Earth Kingdom through, so much so that he risks his life to liberate the Earth Kingdom in the finale of the entire show. But that regret doesn't define Iroh. This brings us to the live-action adaptation. Throughout Season 2 of Netflix's Avatar, Iroh is a man crippled by regret. Some of that regret is over the death of his son, and most of it is over the terrible things he did to the people of Ba Sing Se. Wallowing in regret is Iroh's defining characteristic throughout the season. It starts with him almost abandoning Zuko when faced with the prospect of returning to Ba Sing Se. And when he does return to the city, there is no wise, kind Iroh that we know and love who's lived a complex past, because in the live-action adaptation, Iroh is still stuck in his past. He stares blankly out of windows, he looks up at the names of those he hurt and almost has a panic attack, and it affects him so deeply that he stays sitting there for the entire day. No wise words that help others, no bright ray of sunshine that lights up those he bumps into. Iroh's entire day is just somber contemplation and regret. Even when the same mugger from the original show tries to rob him, Iroh responds completely differently in the adaptation. He doesn't try to help the mugger or listen to his story. What Iroh does is vent to him about the regret that he feels, how his own name should should be on that wall of victims. It's a night and day comparison to the empathy, wisdom, and kindness that Iroh shows in the original show. Now, after this initial moment of venting to the mugger, the scene plays out very similarly to the original, with Iroh turning the man's life around by offering him a job and then walking to the tree on the hill and having the memorial for his son. These beats play out the same as the original show, but the emotions and context of the character are so different that the memorial scene has an entirely different meaning. In the original show, Lu Ten's memorial gives us a recontextualization of where Iroh's wisdom comes from, the underlying sadness that he turns into kindness. The scene gives extra meaning to all the words of wisdom we've heard him say, but in the adaptation, there's no strength or meaning added to these words of wisdom because we haven't seen these words of wisdom throughout Iroh's day. All we've seen up until this point are Iroh's personal struggles, a man whose whole character is regret, anxiety, and sadness. Where the original show's memorial scene adds dimension to Iroh's character, the adaptation memorial scene instead focuses on something entirely different: character progression, not dimension. Because in the live-action adaptation, this scene is the moment where Iroh realizes what the animated Iroh had already realized years ago, that he can use this grief to fuel his kindness. The difference in dialogue makes this even clearer, replacing the original
"Happy birthday, my son. If only I could have helped you"
with
"There are people in this city I can help. If only I could have helped you, my son."
The former reveals the grief underpinning his helping of others, while the latter is a declaration that going forward he will help others despite his grief. The same character, the same scene, but at entirely different points in their journey. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Don't get me wrong, I don't think this is a bad decision. I obviously do prefer Iroh from the original show, but I did think the character change was an interesting one and was handled decently well. But that's it. Thanks for watching, subscribe right now, and see you next time.